Hi, this is Shannon. I hope you are having a great beginning of your summer so far. I wanted to jump on here and talk about classical education versus Charlotte Mason education in general, and if you are homeschooling. I know those are two names that are thrown around a lot in the homeschooling world, especially. And I know personally, I did not understand the difference for a while between the two of them. So I wanted to address some of the main differences, some of their similarities, what direction we've decided to go and why. And I hope this is really helpful, especially if you are considering homeschooling or just want to better understand the differences between these two methods. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little kids, 6, 4, and almost 2. And we have done classical education and love it. We are in classical conversations specifically, and I get to tutor the abecedarians, so that's the little ones. I've done that for several years now and just love it. So we are having a great experience with that. I will link some videos down below related to just why we've chosen homeschooling and more about classical conversations specifically if you are interested as well. And make sure you stick around to the end of my video because I'm going to specifically address memory work. And I know, at least in my experience, that's a big one that some people are like, why all this memorization? So again, first, in the homeschooling world, you might often hear classical education, classical conversations has the classical style, or you might hear Charlotte Mason, and you might wonder, so what are the main differences between the two? Because they're both great. There's also other methods out there, obviously, but I'm going to focus on these two. When we first started to homeschool, we landed in the classical education realm, doing classical conversations. I had already planned to enroll my oldest daughter in a preschool that did the classical style. So I was already familiar with classical and think really highly of it. And so that's just where we landed and we like it. So we're staying with it. I'll explain more why we are choosing classical as a family. But Charlotte Mason is awesome too. And I've always kind of wondered, what are the differences? What makes them two different schools of thought? And so I wanted to address that today for anybody else who is wondering the same thing, because I've dug into it and now understand more what the differences between the two are and similarities. All right, classical education. What is it? What does it focus on? So it's all about giving kids the tools to think. It's based on something called the trivium, which is just a fancy way of saying the 3 stages of learning, which starts with the grammar stage when kids are little and then moves to the logic stage and then rhetoric stage. So the grammar stage with little children is all about just kids soaking things up. So a lot of memorization, things like math facts, history sentences, the timeline song. So it can definitely feel like a lot sometimes. And at first, I didn't really fully understand. My kids are memorizing these Latin noun endings, but they have no idea what they mean. So why are we doing this? But they build on that later, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. And they love memorizing things. So if you make it fun with songs or games or chants, hand motions, kids are awesome at memorizing and they love it. So it's fun. It should be fun. It shouldn't be, you have to memorize this. So it should be all really fun. And in my experience, I've seen my kids just have so much pride in what they're able to memorize. It's pretty cool. So in the middle years, kids start asking why more, and they start to connect the dots with what they've memorized to what it actually means. And so we start to get to see the fruit of that memorization. And then the rhetoric stage, when they're a little bit older, they're able to express their ideas clearly and persuasively and debate them. So that's a summary of the 3 stages. So basically it's like you're building a house and memorization is the foundation of the house. And you can't build a house on a shaky foundation. So if you have a strong foundation, if you have those math facts solid and those history sentences really ingrained in your mind, then you can really build on that later and understand more what those things mean. Charlotte Mason focuses mainly on the beauty in things and reading living books and time outside. Memorization is still a part of it, but it's not as big of a focus as it is with classical education. Charlotte Mason also focuses heavily on building habits and basically just giving your child a feast of ideas and letting them take them in slowly. So Charlotte Mason believed that children are whole persons, and she wanted to help them grow in character and not just knowledge. So things like narration and copywork and picture study are a big focus in Charlotte Mason. Instead of focusing so heavily on memorization when kids are little, with Charlotte Mason, you'll find more poetry and music and stories. So she focuses more on connecting the meaning behind the words instead of pure memorization. So you might be thinking, well, those both sound great. Can't you do both? And yes, absolutely. So I'll talk more about that at the end, but absolutely you can do both. So again, the key differences between them are structure versus flow. So classical conversations is more structured, I would say, than Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason is kind of more of a steady flow, again, reading books and talking about the words you learn in them and the meaning behind it. So what kids learn first is a big difference between them. In classical education, kids focus on memorizing a lot of facts in the beginning. In Charlotte Mason, they focus more on connecting what they're learning in the beginning. Not that we don't do that in classical education, but it's just, again, a different mindset. And so in Charlotte Mason, they might hear a story and then retell it in their own words. That might be a focus. The role of memorization, like I've said, is different between the two of them. So classical education places a much bigger focus on memorization, especially in the beginning years, than Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason definitely focuses on memorization too. It's just not as big of a focus. And then how the two approach subjects is different. So in classical education, subjects are broken into categories and studied in depth. So for example, formal grammar, Latin, logic, things like that. In Charlotte Mason, subjects are woven through reading living books more so, and nature study and discussion. Neither method is better. It just kind of depends on what is more suitable for your family. So if you enjoy more structure, classical education might be more up your alley. If you want to be more gentle and slow with things and just really, really focus on reading those living books with your kids, Charlotte Mason might be more appropriate. Now, I want to focus on why memorization is such a big focus with classical education and some of the fruit I've already seen from it, and just to clarify the importance of it. So like I've said before, kids are just amazing at memorizing. They love it. They're like little sponges and they can remember stuff that they've memorized for ever, especially if they memorize it as a song. You know, we still know songs as adults that we learned as kids. Songs are so powerful. So to focus on memorizing things like the Latin noun endings and the history sentences and science and things like that, it's going in there. It's not going to leave. And the kids can build on it later. And it makes it so much easier for them to understand and go deep into those concepts later if it's already there. Memorization also teaches kids how to focus. It trains the brain to pay attention and repeat and retain the material, which is awesome and such a good skill that they will use for the rest of their life. I'm sure personally, you know the value of memorizing math facts. It's so helpful if you just have those addition, multiplication, subtraction facts in your head. You don't have to figure a lot of them out if you already have that in your head, and then you can build upon it to solve more complicated problems. Kids also feel just super satisfied when they've memorized certain things, and it's fun. Like I said before, this should be a fun thing, not out of drudgery. This should be fun. And it's not all that you do in classical education at all. It's part of it. It is a focus, but we also read books all the time. I think that's so important. No matter what philosophy of homeschooling you're doing, reading living books should be a huge priority. So we do that. I love to check out books from the library that have to do with some of the memory work that we're learning that week. And that helps us dive deeper into those concepts and helps my kids kind of connect some of those dots already when they're really little. So again, I just really love the analogy of you're building a house, and the foundation of the house are those things that the kids are memorizing. And when that's really solid, then it's much easier to build a sturdy house where the kids can understand more what those things that they have in their brain already mean and connect those dots. So memorization isn't less valued in Charlotte Mason, definitely not. They still definitely do that. It's still definitely a focus and they see the value of kids memorizing for sure. It's just, again, not the same kind of focus as it is in classical education. Charlotte Mason believed memorization comes more naturally through reading those living books. So the living books are really the focus, and memorization kind of comes out of that, and nature study, things like that. So it's just a more gentle approach with it. So, which one's better, classical or Charlotte Mason? I don't think there's a right answer to that. My family has chosen to go the classical route. I love the structure. I love what they are learning in their memory work. I love seeing my kids be able to memorize it and retain the history facts and math facts and science. It's so cool. And it's fun to be able to read books that dive deeper into some of those topics. So I am a big fan. Like I just said, though, we're still reading living books. We're still going outside as much as possible, learning about nature. So I really don't feel like you have to say, this one is this thing and this one is this thing. I feel like they're all valuing basically the same things. Again, they're just different focuses. But it's your homeschool, you're the teacher, and so you can figure out what the focuses should be for your family, what you're prioritizing, and make it work for your kids. So I hope that helps and helps kind of explain the value of the memory work too. Again, the goal is not for the kids to understand all that they're memorizing right now. It's just, again, building a foundation that they will expand more later. If you are enjoying my videos, subscribe to my channel. I am planning to still post at least one video per week during the summertime too. And I'm really excited. I'm getting very close to posting about Europe. My big Europe map. Africa is still behind me, but I'm almost done with the big Europe map I'm making and a Europe workbook your kids can use. So subscribe so you don't miss out on some fun resources I have planned for next year for cycle 2. And check out my Instagram. I like to post those things and just what we do throughout the week this summer too. As well, check out my blog where I have lots of great resources that you can use, many for free. So thanks again for watching and have a great day.